Hi, it's Cammy. Charlie talks football.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Charlie Talks Football. So we've got huge transfer news coming out for Newcastle United. You can see based off the thumbnail in the title. So enough of me waffling, let's get into the video, guys. Newcastle are finally being ambitious in the transfer market. So let's get into it. So Fabrizio Romano has been reporting about Hugo Ekitike, the Frankfurt striker. Now, this is a player who Newcastle tried to get when he was at Rennes, and then he rejected us to join PSG. He's moved to PSG, didn't go very well, which I think was expected. And then ever since he's moved to Frankfurt in Germany, he's certainly done a lot better. So in my opinion, I think this would be a massive statement signing for Newcastle. If we can beat off a whole host of clubs to the signing of Hugo Ekitike. He's young, he's done very well at Frankfurt. Now, first of all, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I haven't watched many of these games at Frankfurt, but Liverpool are heavily interested. A whole host of other Premier League clubs are interested in Ekitike. So for me, this was one of the transfers where I know it had been previously reported that Newcastle were interested in Ekitike, but I didn't expect to be doing this video because, I didn't expect Newcastle to be pushing this hard for Ekitike. Now, the reports are saying that Newcastle are pushing hard to sign Ekitike. We're currently discussing right now as I speak personal terms for Ekitike. We're pushing for the deal. He's our top target. Eddie Howe believes he's a perfect striker to play alongside Isak. And Newcastle are working on the deal to stop hijacks from the rest of the Premier League clubs interested. So, in my opinion, I think this would be a fantastic sign, and I've seen quite a bit of negativity about this. I think a lot of Newcastle fans are still bitter because Ekitike rejected Newcastle to join PSG, but I think we can, forgive Ekitike's Newcastle fans now because, especially if he ends up at Newcastle. Now, this would be, one of the most exciting striking partnerships in football. Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike. Now, a lot of you guys might not know this, but these are the most two valuable young strikers in the world at the minute, Isak and Hugo Ekitike. Now, I've seen a lot of reactions from different fan bases. Liverpool fans are suggesting that means that Isak is going to leave Newcastle this summer because we're trying to bring in Ekitike. But it has been stated that Eddie Howe wants Ekitike to play alongside Isak, which means that Newcastle, it looks like Ekitike will stay at the club for one more season. Now, for me, the reason why this would be such a smart deal for Newcastle is because, it gives us, replacements straight away. So just in case Isaac does leave next summer, we've got Ekitike at the club. Now, in my opinion, I don't think Isaac will leave this summer. I think it's more likely that he'll end up leaving next summer. Now, of course, this deal will be expensive. Ekitike does have a 100 million euros release clause, which is about 86 million pounds, I think. So Newcastle are gonna have to spend a lot of money if we want to get this deal done. And I understand the negativity regarding this. Some Newcastle fans will be frustrated, but in my opinion, I don't know why you would be frustrated if we signed Ekitike. This is a fantastic player who would be stealing from the likes of Liverpool and other top Premier League clubs. This is a player who, is versatile. I think he'd do very well for Newcastle. All we've got to do now is focus on would the player be keen to join Newcastle, which I think he would be, considering Newcastle do have Champions League football. But what are your thoughts on this? Because it's a huge statement of intent and ambition by Newcastle, because, what a fantastic attack would have Gordon, Isak, Elanga, and now potentially Ekitike, along with the, fantastic midfield of Bruno, Joe Linton, and Tonali. Now, would Newcastle potentially change the formation? Would Ekitike start alongside Isaac, or would Ekitike be rotated, with Isaac still at the club? So what are your thoughts on this? This channel is all about comments, so get your comments down below. Is this a statement of intent? Do you think it will happen? Of course, Ekitike is, been a long-term target for Newcastle. We have trying to get the player now for a long, long time. Here's his stats. He's had a good season with Frankfurt, and this is a good player. He was doing excellent at Rennes anyway. The fact that PSG signed him can literally, prove to you guys that he is a good player if some Newcastle fans are unsure. And I know you will know who he is because, we did try and sign him before. So this is a player who Newcastle and Eddie Howe and the coaching staff have been following for a long, long time. But in my opinion, I think there's so many, reasons as to why Newcastle should make the move. And you've got to pay big money now, if you want to get, fantastic top players. And, I think Newcastle fans need to accept this, because I guarantee you there will be some people that won't be happy with the amount of money that we're prepared to pay for Ekitike. But like I said, if you want the top players, you've got to pay big money to get them. And of course, I think what this shows, if this deal does happen, is that Newcastle potentially do have a lot more money than has been originally suggested, possibly over 200 million, because, I've suggested on the channel that Newcastle will sign at least 4 or 5 players this summer transfer window. And I know a lot of your other Newcastle fans have been quite impatient, but my message to you is stay calm. Newcastle are trying to sign players, and this is proof. We're trying to sign James Trafford. We're trying to sign Hugo Ekitike now. We're still looking at another midfielder. Things are starting to heat up, and it is clear that Newcastle want to be ambitious. And if we could steal Ekitike from the likes of the Premier League champions Liverpool, from the likes of Chelsea, Man United, this would be a huge coup. And, just don't be negative about this, in my opinion, because I think this would work. And I know people would say, where would Ekitike fit in? But whether he stays on the bench or plays alongside Isak, you can trust Eddie Howe, because Eddie Howe's got it right with so many players. If you have concerns about his attitude, Eddie Howe, does his research, he'll know about Ekitike's attitude. So, let's see what happens. Make sure to subscribe. I'll keep you updated on all the latest Newcastle transfer news. If there's any more developments on this Ekitike deal, I will keep you guys updated and posted on, all this summer throughout all the Newcastle United transfer news that comes out. But Ekitike's pace, his power, I think he'll fit in Newcastle really well. And like I said, if it happens, in my opinion, you might disagree, but I think it's a huge statement of intent from Newcastle. It shows we mean business. We've just got into the Champions League, and it's been a while since we've made a statement signing. And for me, there's the striker market that is quite scarce. There's not a lot of strikers available on the market, so we're going to have to pay a lot of money. And, just the attack would be brilliant. Newcastle's squad would be brilliant. So what are your thoughts, guys? Make sure to subscribe. I've been pushing to get 2,000 subscribers for a long time. We're nearly there, so leave a like on the video. Thanks for the support on the videos. Leave your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on Hugo Ekitike? Do you know much about him? Do you think it'd be a good signing for Newcastle? Do you think that means Isaac's leaving? Do you think it means, Isaac's going to leave next summer? And, what are your thoughts on the potential price? Do you think it's a lot of money? And I'm not denying, it is a lot of money, but, like I said, I think it's worth it. And I think Newcastle are clearly trying to bring in these young players. And I think Ekitike is a young and hungry player who'll do very well for Newcastle. So I'm really excited. It's hard not to be excited about this, and let's see if this develops. But it really seems like Newcastle, for once, are actually going really, really quick on a transfer. So if Newcastle pull this off, could this be one of the, biggest coups that we've pulled off before? So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.